And just like that, week 1 of Horror Mayhem is done. Let's have a chat. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'll be wrapping up week 1 of Horror Mayhem, the reading project originally created by the bookish Bryants. Now this week it was all about the theme local horror. Now the first read I decided to go with was a book I had been made to read in school as part of the curriculum, and that was called Wake in Fright by Mr. Kenneth Cook. Published in 1961. I don't remember too much of it when I was at school, only that we had to read it and write an essay and book reviews and things like that, so not too much that I remember. But it's interesting reading one of these books as an adult, how you develop a pretty deep appreciation for a classic book like this. And you don't sort of appreciate it when you're a kid and it's forced upon you, but when you have a bit of life experience behind you and a bit of age, it does tend to be quite enjoyable, because there's obviously no pressure about it. You're not having the pressure of a deadline for a book report over it or anything like that. But I just found it really interesting. I bought the book on a whim a few months ago, and I've been looking for an excuse to read it, and this seemed like the perfect fit as part of the project, and I'm glad I picked it up because I really enjoyed it. So let's I'll share with you what the cover blurb says. Wake in Fright tells the tale of John Grant's journey into an alcoholic, sexual and spiritual nightmare. It is the original and greatest outback horror story. Bundan and its citizens will haunt you forever. Okay, so John Grant is a teacher. He's based in remote rural New South Wales in a small town, which is a school that has 20 kids in it from year prep up to say year 9. It's a very small school. He feels the oppression and the heat of the landscape, and their summers out there are extremely hot. He's about had enough. It's the end of the school year. The book opens up with him finishing his last class of the year, and our holidays over here in Australia run from mid-December through till the start of Feb the next year, so all through the summer we have a bit of a break there, and all he's looking forward to is going to Sydney for a holiday to hopefully catch up with a previous girlfriend who I don't even think she exists based on how the narrative of the story goes. But he has his teacher's check for all his leave payments, and he plans on just having a bit of ocean time and just getting out of that small town as quick as he possibly can, so that he doesn't have to deal with anything. The last thing he wants to do is stay there on his school break. So away he goes, and on the way, before flying out to Sydney, he stops in the small town of Bundan, where he has to stay overnight before he flies out the next day. Now, to fill in the time, obviously he checks into a hotel and he goes and checks out a local tavern where there is a game of 2-up in process, where you flip the 2 coins on a board and you bet on the outcome that lands on the mat. And this is set in the 60s, so all the currency is in pounds and shillings and sixpence or what have you. And what happens is he has a beer, he meets a local policeman there who has a chat to him, and he becomes intrigued by this 2-up game that he has been watching out of the corner of his eye. And he goes up and watches the game's proceedings, and he becomes so intrigued by it that he actually lays down his own bet, because he has got a few pounds in addition to his teacher's check, which he hasn't cashed yet, and he lays a bet and he begins to win. And the gambling bug catches him, and the more he bets, the more he wins. Now what happens is he does the right thing right away and gets some winnings, which is more than what his teacher's check is worth, so that he can have a hell of a holiday in New South Wales. He goes away with his winnings, he stays in the hotel, and the gambling bug gets him, and he thinks, what if I can win more? I could get away from that bloody school. So he goes back, and what happens is, you can probably guess, he bets his whole wad, including his cashed teacher's check, on a game, and he loses it all. So in the blink of an eye, he becomes destitute, homeless, broke, hungry. He can't afford to eat, so he has no choice but to rely on the charity of some of the locals there, which is where his nightmare really begins, because he's in out over his head, and he really hits rock bottom. So I think the book is very, very well written. Kenneth Cook really paints a vivid picture of rural outback New South Wales and the environment and the oppressive heat and the local wildlife there, and how the locals in remote New South Wales view city slickers. And there's a stark contrast between the two demographics there, because the locals are used to the heat and they thrive on it, and they just live it day in and day out, and the way they treat this outsider is absolutely a really good character study into how he goes mad and hits rock bottom. And I won't reveal the end, but it was a very, very good read, and the writing was fantastic, and I would recommend this to anyone. Now let's talk about the second book I read, which was going to be Picnic at Hanging Rock, and I did start it, but I didn't finish it because it wasn't engaging enough. The writing was boring, I thought. It took ages to get to the main meat of the novel, where the mystery at Hanging Rock happens, and I didn't like the writing style. Just didn't grab me. I gave it quite a few pages. I think I gave it about 20 or 30 pages before I ditched it. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, what the hell am I going to read now? Because it was hard enough picking two books that would qualify for a local horror theme. So I did a bit of research, and I remember back in the day I was part of the Australian Horror Writers Association when I used to be a writer, and I knew of Angela Slatter back then, who is very active very much today, and I thought, well, why not have a look at her backlist and see what she's got on offer. And I decided to pick up one of her collections from a few years ago called Winter Children and Other Chilling Tales, packed with 12 tales that really unsettled me, actually. So I'm glad I picked it, because there were themes here that were relevant, and especially there were some items where I can tick off the bingo card as well for the subgenres. So this is taken off the back cover, and I'll share this with you. Traversing the borderlands between terror and lush fantastic beauty, Winter Children and Other Chilling Tales, Angela Slatter's 8th collection of short fiction, gathers 12 tales of horror, the uncanny and dark lament. Here you will find Lovecraftian terrors, Aussie vampires, fell magic, ancient wisdom, wayward children, and twisted moments of desire gone horribly wrong. From the otherworldly threats of the Song of Sighs and Only the Dead and Moonstruck, to the sandblasted Australian outback of Sun Falls, to the shadowy secrets of the past in the Red Forest. These tales are dark gems that will haunt you long after your first reading. Originally collected in a limited edition, this publication brings the first-rate chills and nightmarish turns of Slatter's imagination to a broader readership for the first time. Shortlisted for the Aurealis Award upon its original release, now's your chance to find out why Stephen Jones has dubbed Angela Slatter a powerful and eloquent voice in horror fiction. So the writing is very, very solid, and there is a standout story. In fact, was the title story, Winter Children. And I'm going to read an excerpt from the opening page of the story, because it's an example of how fantastic Angela's writing is and how she describes things, and it really draws you in and gets you really engaged. Okay. Grandma Jo's eyes light up when she sees me. You there, girl. Boy, girl? Oh, she recognises me. She just doesn't know me. I pin on a smile and approach, tiptoeing through the minefield of rockers, wheelchairs, discarded knee rugs, drooled upon dolls, magazines opened at half-done crosswords, all manner of old-age home sadnesses scattered across the floor. A sea of faces look up at me expectantly, all of them the same, the rigours of age rendering them alike. And she says this about a dog. She's outside in the yard for her morning ramble, which generally consists of crapping on the most likely to be walked on pieces of grass and trying desperately to get back inside where there are tummy scratches, old people to feed her pieces of chocolate, cardigan pockets softened caramels, occasional meds, and a lot of other things not meant to be consumed by animals. Gypsy, it must be said, is basically a junkie with an accompanying sugar dependency. She also has an unhealthy fondness for me. Fantastic beginning to a story, really paints a picture. There's a really good twist at the end that you don't see coming, which is the hallmarks of a very good writer. And the way she describes things, she has a very unique flavour to her writing, which was fantastic. The stories are all dark. Home and Hearth was a really disturbing one, because it's about a teenager who gets accused of a crime. He gets acquitted and goes back home to live with his mother. Only his mother discovers that he isn't as innocent as he claimed to be. Now, if you are acquitted of a crime, you can't be retried for that same crime. It's called double jeopardy. But she discovers a frightening truth, and she has to question her morals and act accordingly, which was a really, really disturbing one about a mother who has to deal with her son. It was really, really good. The Burning Circus is a really good revenge story with a bit of witchcraft thrown in. I thought that was quite good. Song of Sighs was a really good Lovecraftian tale, which started off really well, but ended up being a little bit weird by the end. And the overall collection was very, very strong. I really enjoyed it. It didn't take me long to get through because the stories aren't very lengthy. Her word usage is very, very confident, and she uses atmospheric imagery really, really well. So I was very pleasantly surprised by it, and pleased to find something else that qualified for a local horror read as part of the project to actually complete the week, which was awesome. Now this week is going to be movie week, where we get to read any book related to a movie, based on a movie that's been novelized. The sky is the absolute limit. So I have chosen the novelization of Poltergeist by James Caan and The Omen, which is going to be awesome. Just a quick note on Poltergeist. I haven't read the novelization before. I'm really looking forward to it because in a movie like Poltergeist, you can tell the special effects weren't quite good in some areas. And what I'm I'm predicting, is my imagination is going to create those special effects for me, which has no limits. And I'm looking forward to reading the innermost thoughts of the characters, because you don't get that in a movie. You get exterior things, so you don't get to be in their heads like you would in a novel, and I'm really looking forward to it and looking forward to sharing all that with you, so bring it on. But guys, that is it for my wrap up for week 1 of of Horror Mayhem with Local Horror. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will produce the best content I can. Offer up any comments below as per usual, but until the next video, guys, which is just around the corner, happy reading.